What are sexual frustrations? What is technically a frustration? And, well, why is it that the whole planet seems to be suffering from them? See, when it comes to the idea of a frustration, one has to understand one thing. If you do not know something, ask yourself the question what it is. If you are in tune enough with the cosmos, some answers will come. Yet one has to have patience. In my case, I had to have patience for even years on end. The answers typically will come, but why not look for them also if you can? Nowadays, there are so many means through which one can actually get access to information. Frustration refers to not feeling fulfilled about something. And when that not feeling fulfilled by something is also backed up by a powerful conviction that it must be kept so, well, that is when it will become a mega frustration in time. It will become so overwhelming in time that you will live life in so many cases, so many times. You will experience events in which you live your life like from far beyond your physical body. It's like you suddenly have left your physical body and you see a movie through your eyes in which you do certain things, and it's like you don't even or you can't even comprehend having any control over your physical body. See, pent up frustrations are very, very powerful and they're very dangerous also. Because any generation that has not transcended certain difficulties that it had and, well, did nothing else but what misery dictated, aka repressed those. See, repression occurs in misery because sooner or later it has to be pulled out. The more you keep anything repressed, the more it multiplies. This is how misery functions. The mind doesn't have any means to destroy thoughts because thoughts are an energy or, let's say, an information that you cannot destroy. There are no such things as black holes in the mind. You cannot undo any memory that you have created, any information that you have put together and created a thought. And if you try to suppress something, if you try to negate it by thinking at something else, it will still remain as a functional process. It's just that shifting your attention to something else makes you think that you have escaped the trouble. Every thought that you make is a cycle in the end. So sooner or later, it will go on through your mind. It will go on through your mind even while you are asleep. Every time it goes through your mind, it taps a bit of your energy. That is why people who are constantly overthinking feel so damn tired, even if they're not doing anything. They're probably just sitting in bed all day, complaining, moaning, and bitching, and they're just tired out of the blue, right? And almost always they feel tired because the nervous system, though it is so small compared to the weight of other organs and as such, if you take each system of the body one on one, the nervous system is said to consume around 20% of the energy that the physical body has because it is that much intense. And when we think about this, it is obvious that making super duper use of the mind, even when not needed, or especially if it is coupled with fear, well, even hatred, those will consume your energy pretty quickly, right? Being anxious is said to be a good way to lose weight because consuming so much energy, well, typically you're not going to see too many people suffering from fears that, according to science, that might result as this, that you're not going to see too many people being overly fearful and fat at the same time. Oh, I assure you the opposite because, well, the more you focus on certain thoughts, the more you focus on something, the more you repress things, even, they also end up being stored in different parts of the body. Not your physical body necessarily, but certain layers of your existence. And, well, all of these added together, well, they can lead to all sorts of health issues. Suddenly, your perfect metabolism ends up being crippled in a way, and you gain weight out of a sudden as if anything that you eat suddenly adds up. It's like you can't eat anything. Even if you don't eat several days in a row, you still preserve the fat, unfortunately. There are all sorts of destabilizations, all sorts of things that can happen because of pent up emotions. Now, when you add up the fact that you suffer also, not only your emotions, but mostly those of your ancestors, right? Because you may not believe what I say. It's okay. I will not cry because of that. But you are still probably suffering from your ancestral, let's say, repressed sexuality. Because misery, in order to function, it has to negate everything about you. It has to make you think that everything about you is bad, it is evil, you must not do anything. And when any of your natural urges occur, you're gonna blame yourself, shame and guilt trap yourself each and every fucking time. If it is not you, then definitely your uh, parents, probably, or any other toxic people that you might have around. Because miserable people are nothing else but a very simple mechanic. They're just some dumb people. Well, they're most likely not even human anymore because they gave up their innocence, they gave up their humanity. All they live by is the conviction that everything about them is bad, it's not worth to do anything, so they'll just be less than even zombies, right? Because zombies at least seek to fulfill their hunger, to satiate their hunger. Miserable people will gladly die if such an event would come. They wouldn't probably even eat. Haven't you experienced such things when you are at such low states of awareness, especially of misery, where even eating becomes like an achievement, right? Even breathing becomes like an achievement. Because when things go so bad in your life, the first impulse is self destruction, right? This also can lead to triggering cancer or other self destructive patterns within the physical body. Well, science may not be, or medicine may not be telling you this, but medicine was curtailed in such a way to suit some people's needs and agendas, not necessarily the idea of actually curing you. So when it comes to frustrations, frustration is nothing else but a pent up, let's say, repressed feeling, thought, emotions, whatever you want to call them, which were deemed as evil or whatever. When the Abrahamic religions popped up, they were also assimilated by misery and they were used to reinforce misery itself. That is why people ended up with so many twisted versions of those religions, where everything was pointed out at anyone who was trying to be different, who was naturally different, or who displayed any sense of innocence. Because innocence means to bear the true morals and dignity of humanity, of being a human in the end. And misery will always seek to oppress that and, well, in worse levels, even annihilate anything that is innocent, because it is a reminder of how things can actually be, how things have always been. And innocence will always have the power to wake people up. It always has much more influence than misery itself. Because in innocence, you don't need guidance, right? You don't need unconscious guidance. You have all the conscious guidance. You have your intuition and all other forces that can actually support you. Things that the unconscious, the ignorant, cannot perceive. That is why they will hunt down the innocent, right? They're always going to be malnourished, maltreated, and the such. Because out of innocence, you can make even greater monsters, right? When it comes to frustrations, see, you're probably not believing that your ancestors have a huge influence on you, or, well, the memory in your body from your ancestors has such a huge influence on you, right? But many people may not want to accept the fact that karma has a huge influence on them. But most people, when you look at them, get horny when they see digital TDs, right? When they see digital characters that, trigger their fancies. It doesn't matter what gender or whatever, because I can't care about genders when it comes to digital characters. But, people will invent all sorts of things because misery will always run away from responsibility and from innocence. If it runs away from innocence, it runs away from its own morals, from the virtues and the true aspects that should be respected when it comes to being within that physical body of yours. How will it do? It will cheat its way around by cheating itself first, and inventing new things, new morals, twisted ones, horrible ones, where probably even assault becomes legalized within that mind. When more such minds unite, they will impose that upon the masses and they will greatly accept it, when the masses become equally ignorant and, these ideas, these new twisted morals, whatever they end up being, get accepted, right? They will gladly embrace such a society, but also vigorously and aggressively will try to make sure that they are imposed and also kept so, right? They will make sure that, well, misery will in the end make everyone become a policing force towards those who do not respect misery, right? In the end, misery is the most ruthless authoritarian regime that there can be. Out of it, anything that you've seen despotic in society, well, it was only a matter of time till a despotic regime would appear, sooner or later. Because misery has its own intuition as well. It is just that it is very centered on survival, focused on the existence of this physical body so that it can perpetrate itself. It is like living with thousands of miserable voices within your mind. Those voices are real. You're not hearing things. If you are miserable enough, you're not hearing things or feeling things. You're just connecting yourself to certain aspects of the past that so many people, maybe not your direct lineage of people, suffered from. But everything in this world is interconnected. If some people in the world suffer, you will feel a certain sense of depression. The whole world is in depression because nobody is respecting their morals much anymore. So many parts of the world are in constant warfare, whether mental, social, or even military warfare. All that is creating so many frustrations in the end, because when people want to pursue things, when life within them wants to pursue things and it is cancelled because of some people's agendas, that will create a lot of frustrations. Because miserable people will always create the most frustrations. Why? Because they won't do anything, but they still have plans or ideas to try those things, right? But since they are not worthy of anything due to their, core issue, their core belief, well, they will simply end up with a lot of frustrations. Miserable people will typically die in a miserable way, and, well, the next generations will be affected by that, whether they were born by those miserable people or not. And the influences can be greater or lower depending on own karma, depending on what the life that you are decided to experience in this physical existence that you currently have, based on numerous variables that it took into account unconsciously. So when we think about this, the most prominent nowadays seem to be sexual frustrations. That is why one of the grand reasons why people embrace the idea of homosexuality. They are just playing a game. The only homosexuals are the ones who are truly born like that. Obviously, people can lie and cheat themselves and, tell themselves that they were born so. No, they just suffer from a huge conviction that, they're not worthy of the other gender's attention. And when that happens, well, slowly and surely your esteem goes even lower. If it goes dangerously enough, well, self-destructive patterns will appear. And those will include anything that will support misery, aka having sex with all sorts of people who don't serve your system, putting all other people's miseries within you, because this is how misery functions. It is a very volatile existence. It is a very volatile power, let's say, that constantly dissipates. That is why it feels like it needs an overwhelming amount of effort to support. Similarly to it, there are lies, because lies are nothing else but bricks required by misery to exist. The mind is the best generator of such bricks, but those bricks dissipate, and that is why those people who are always deceitful, they will need to constantly rehearse their shit. They will need to constantly rebuild those bricks and make sure that the physicalities they have designed, the grandiose illusions they have designed, will not dwindle because they have gotten so used to those illusions feel that they are like parts of them, right? It is as if they are layers of their existence, as if they are, well, organs of their physical body, right? So people end up with all these frustrations, especially sexual frustrations, because for the longest time sex has been called something evil. Even religion was bent into saying that sex is nothing else but a sin, right? Premarital, even after, like, people will make use of any possible means to turn your own information, your own thoughts, your own anything that you have against you, because that is how they function, right? They're just like robots following their very primitive design, their very primitive programming in the end. This is how miserable people are. So you see a lot of people nowadays suffering, from this hypersexed way of being, because this is how their ancestors lived. Now you have so many means through which you can feed upon that. Because in order to remove or to make peace with these frustrations is to fervently go through those for a certain period of time. You don't have to go through those consciously. If you are conscious enough, you just have to become aware of those and ask yourself constantly, why is it that it is recurring? Well, it is because it is a cycle, yes, and it will repeat again and again. But the more you invest into those, the stronger they will also become. But their perishing will also become faster, sooner or later. If you just invest into that frustration on and on again, throughout your lifetime, it will start dwindling. Maybe you will not transcend it during this lifetime, but it is guaranteed that you will, sooner or later. This should not be an excuse to not try to become conscious and simply start doing things for yourself that slowly and surely will replace that. Don't forget, the fear of any obsession, the fear of misery, is that of responsibility. Once one lives life responsibly, well, they may still get overwhelmed by such frustrations, because sooner or later you will get overwhelmed by those, and you will live as if you're viewing life like a movie, and your physical body is doing certain things that you have no control over. You don't need to shame or guilt trip yourself out about that. It is a problem when you end up doing certain things that hurt other people and put you on the wrong side of the law. But everyone has to experience certain things. Karma is a bitch, as they say. And it will guide you to do certain things, even force you to do certain things beyond your control, if it needs. This is not punishment from God. This is not any sort of godly aspect. It is just karma doing its own thing. Because you have to understand, karma is nothing else but a huge amount of information going on. It is like a code of the cosmos, going beyond all your perceptible levels, right? All perceivable levels that you have in this mundane life. If you live a mundane life, you will not be perceiving any of these, but they will be doing their own influence upon you, right? You see nowadays, especially teens, they get horny over literally anything, right? And well, I mean, the more you run away from socializing with other people, funnily speaking, the hornier you will become. Because all those frustrations, well, it is better if you can actually talk with other people about these and externalize some of this information. After you have gone through such frustrations, you can easily share some of the experience gained. I have gone through so much generational trauma, and, well, some people, especially people who can preserve their innocence and haven't given up on hope and their patience, these people will become like, let's say, a liberator in the end. They will be channelers that, well, unconsciously or consciously, but even unconsciously, they will simply end up living life in such a way that when those frustrations happen, they will no longer fight them. They will simply let those happen, irrespective of how much damage they bring them, because they know if they are damaging behaviors, well, the more they try to suppress them, the more they try to fight them, well, at a certain level, because of experience from their current life and most likely, especially from previous lifetimes, they know that the more they try to resist those, the more damage they will be able to do to them. So hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. You are appreciated, take care, enjoy life, and this being said, Ferenc Board signing out.